Welcome to the Ripple Effect Martial Arts Podcast.
Welcome, everybody. We're really happy to welcome Middleburg Martial Arts, Ripple Effect Martial Arts instructors, Master Rachael, Macy, Mr. Braden, and Miss Becky, who are all black belts and instructors in the new Florida School of Middleburg Martial Arts and Ripple Effect Martial Arts. Welcome to the program, everybody.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, so can we get just a little bit of background? You have a new school, is that right?
Yes, sir. We have had Middleburg Martial Arts here in Middleburg, Florida for over 20 years now. And we are opening the new location in Fleming Island, which will be a Ripple Effect school. We're running classes now, but our grand opening is going to be in October.
What motivated you to open up a new location in Fleming Island?
That's a good question. So honestly, like I said, we've been in Middleburg for over 20 years, and I know we have impacted so many families. We're at a point now where we're having some of our previous students come in with their kids, or, grandparents who brought their kids here who are now bringing their grandkids into our program. And so just seeing how that has made such a strong impact in so many lives, and even having students who come back who earned their second or third degree black belts with us. And we did an interview series last summer. And so we had students that graduated from Annapolis or went to college on full ride scholarships, are now in these incredible management positions, coming back and sharing with us how much our program, martial arts, and the leadership development that they learned impacted their lives and their success. So just being able to spread that and share that with as many students as possible is our goal.
So multiple generations of martial artists has kind of been the tradition going back millennia. It seems like that's continuing through your school. Mr. Braden, what's your history in the martial arts?
It's a weird history, but it's the same thing. My dad did martial arts when he was a kid, and I have always been very much into ninjas and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, typical like little kid stuff. And then my neighbor coincidentally went to Middleburg Martial Arts, and I took my first class here, and fast forward 9.5 years later, and here we are.
It's almost 10 years you've been training at Middleburg?
Mm-hmm. Almost 10 years now.
Wow. So I want to get into that too, but Miss Becky, tell us a little bit about how you came into the martial arts.
My son started when he was 10. And then about 9 months later, I had tried it for a month because during January, parents and families get to train for free. And at the end of the month, I was kind of voluntold. My son and I trained together. We actually tested for our first degree black belts together. And then about a few months later, they asked me to come and be an employee and help with the Fleming location. And at that time, that's where I lived. So I was super excited. And now I have my second degree and working on my third, and just love it. Master
Macy, talk a little bit about your history in the martial arts, because I know you have a legacy there too.
Yeah, it's a long story. Okay, so I actually started training when I was really young. I was about 4 years old, and I started going back. All of you guys spent a family thing, right? And that is a huge part of our program, is the family atmosphere that we have. And I think a big part of that is the foundation for all of us was family. But when I was 4 years old, my parents both trained and all of my siblings trained. So I wanted to be like everybody else. So I remember begging my parents to let me take karate class, and our school in California did not start until students were 4. And so as soon as I turned 4, I'm pretty sure I went like the day after my birthday, and I was so excited to take my first karate class, and immediately fell in love with being the leader in the class and helping to teach. I was helping my mom to teach the Tigers and Dragons program, which are little guys. When I was like 6 years old, I would help them with warm-ups and things like that. And it just has been a passion of mine my entire life. It's never really faded or left. It's something that no matter where I was or what I was doing, martial arts was always a huge part of my life.
Mr. Braden, Master Macy just talked about being 4 years old and excited about being a leader. You're the youngest among this group we have right now. What does it feel like? What does it feel like to be leading people who are older? Because I know you have a lot of parents who are in the program, a lot of adults. And what is it like to instruct someone teach them in how to fight, how to defend themselves, how to be leaders and more charismatic and confident when you're younger than they are. Do you have any perspective on that?
It is something that I've thought about, and it is a weird thing to think about that I have people that are 2 times my age that I'm teaching them life skills that I learned, as a younger kid. And I can definitely say without a doubt, it's this school right here. Everything that I've learned and everything that I am able to teach was stuff that I learned early on. And it's very humbling to be able to teach those skills to adults, because even adults need a reminder that there are little things that we can always work on and improve on. And it's also kind of showing humility the students are showing that humility that even though there is someone younger than me, they do know things that they can take upon themselves and learn and take home and apply it to where they need to in their lives.
Well, I think that's a huge part of our philosophy too, is that no matter where you are in life, whether it's in martial arts, no matter how high ranking you are or how old you are or how young you are, you always have something to learn from people. I know we always are constantly learning from our students, even the 5-year-old students we learn from. And so I think that's something that we embody and then that we share with our students and we really teach in our culture, is that you're always learning and you're always able to learn from somebody. You're never beyond that point.
Miss Becky or Master Macy, what's something you've learned from a kid or your own kids in the course of martial arts training?
I think for me, my son started for confidence a little bit. He was really scared to try anything. And now he's going to be 19 years old. And I have seen that confidence. Sometimes I say he has a little bit too much confidence, but that confidence grow and him just be assertive. And he's now, more of a leader, and he never was that. So seeing that improve in my own child, and now teaching, seeing other children, that need confidence and that improving, I just think it's amazing.
What do you think it has to do with the specifics of martial arts? So the punching and kicking, for example. So can we establish first, it's Tong Soo Do that you teach in your school at Fleming Island?
Yes, sir.
What about Tong Soo Do is specific? So if you had a kid in a trigonometry program or something like that, they'd be learning something specific about mathematics. Is there something about Tong Soo Do that you believe that is really instrumental in helping kids develop? I see a nod right there. So go ahead, Mr. Braden.
Well, it's the traditionalism. A lot of it falls back upon the backbone of martial arts, which is the focus, the discipline, the concentration, the leadership, all of those details that make black belts, that makes all of the instructors role models for the kids, the adults, anyone who's taking that class. That's why Tong Soo Do is such a beautiful martial art, is that everything falls back upon that backbone of what not only what we teach, but what other martial arts teach as well. That's why it's very impactful, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you completely. The traditionalism is exactly what I would say too. I think practicing forms that have been around for so long and something that you have to do thousands of times before you do that first form 10,000 times at least before you get to black belt and before you're considered excellent at it, right? And that takes a lot of self-discipline and focus and character. And that, I think, that traditionalism and that piece of Tong Soo Do is what makes our black belts not just very good martial artists and not just able to protect themselves, but also really good characters, having the focus and the discipline and the leadership and the confidence and all of those traits as well.
So the carrying forward of tradition is enormous. And I think that's something that people associate when they think of martial arts, that it hasn't begun yesterday. Even if a school opened yesterday, there's some carrying on, there's some representation of something deeper in history that school is bringing forward. And when you're talking about Korean martial arts, there is just these thousands of years of history. And is that anything that you delve into with your students? Is there any kind of historical or geographical perspective of where their martial art comes from?
Absolutely. So actually we do a lot of that. Even our beginners and lower ranking students, every belt test, they're required to know a certain amount of history and terminology. And then they have a 100-question written test when they test for black belt. And then it gets a little harder at second degree and they're required to know more terminology and more history. So it grows, but by the time you get to our advanced classes, all of the commands are in Korean. So when we're bowing in and out of class, when we ask the students to do a low block, we say it in Korean, right? So there's a lot of use of Korean terminology, as well as the history and the culture of not only just our association, but martial arts in general that we teach to our students.
It's something that's really interesting to parents, I think, and especially as back to school is getting back in session, and so many kids have been out of school for a year or more, and it's like, well, what does martial arts bring to my kids' life that they're not getting in school or at home? And that's a good example. I remember when my oldest daughter was taking her first classes and they were doing push-ups and counting in Korean, I thought, wow, that was not something I expected her to learn or to participate in. Miss Becky, what motivated you to move on to teach?
I just saw the benefits of it. Being here and being a student and just being a parent, I just seen it change so many lives that I just totally believed in the program. And so it was easy to me to want to teach it.
Sorry, it was very natural for her. She immediately, even before she was ever teaching classes, she was the one, as a white belt, she was helping the other students in class, making sure they were lined up, or if someone didn't know what they were doing, she was answering their questions. So she definitely has a natural knack for just helping everybody, and she's very nurturing, and she was a natural instructor before she was ever officially an instructor.
That's a really good example of how the karate school serves individuals. So it sounds like, Miss Becky, you are inclined, you have an instinct to help other people learn. But sometimes there isn't that opportunity, right? On the street or at a grocery store or something, there isn't necessarily the structure to teach people. It sounds like you were inclined to come aboard at a karate school because there was that chance to help teach.
Yes. And the main reason why I did it is because it was something really cool to do with my kid, And I try so hard to tell all of our other parents and our new parents, like, you should really give it a try. It's amazing. How empowering to test for your black belt with your child or your children. It was just the most amazing feeling. And then, just seeing over the years it impact all of the kids' lives and even some parents' lives. It impacted my life in different ways that I didn't think it would.
People, I think, have an idea of what that means. They've seen it. There's a mythology about it. But you just talked about how it feels to earn your black belt. And what does it feel like? What is the before black belt and the having earned my black belt? Any stories?
Personally, one of my all-time favorite sayings that I've always had kind of lasered in my head, even before I was serious about training, was, you don't earn a black belt, you become a black belt. So regardless of me wearing a first degree black belt or a fourth degree master belt, it's your attitude and all of those attributes that follow along with it. For me personally, before black belt, I learned a lot of those life skills, but I never applied them. And I can say that, unfortunately, but that's kind of how I was. And then once I got that black belt, it was a sense of, now I'm in a position where I have to help others. And if I can't help myself, how can I expect to help others? So it was that moment of realization, like, this is something that I want to do. It's weird. It's not something that you choose to do. It's something that happens that just kind of takes over you, and you do it subconsciously.
I think you put it just beautifully, that I now have a responsibility to teach other people.
Honestly, it was a long time ago that I got my first degree, and I honestly don't remember how it felt. But I know that each belt test just becomes, because it's a little bit harder, it becomes even more important, right? And even more empowering. And I know that when I tested for my fourth degree, it was, I mean, and just every test before them was the same way. It was like, this was one of the hardest things I have ever done in my life. And that's the reality. If getting to black belt was easy, everyone would be a black belt. If getting to master's belt was easy, everyone would have a master's belt. And it's not. So it does take a lot of hard work, and it's a lot of fun on the way, but it takes a lot of hard work. And knowing through that you just went through this intense testing weekend and you did it is so empowering. And I know I felt it a little bit each time one of our students gets to black belt. You can see their emotions and what they're feeling and how that feels to them. And I've just seen so many people feel so incredibly empowered. And I've had students say to me, they'll go to do something in their career to make this leap forward in their career for the adults, or in school, or try out for this new sport, or whatever it might be. And what they'll say to me is like, well, if I could get to black belt, if I could make it through that, then I can definitely make it through this. This career jump is nothing. I can handle this. And that's the piece of empowerment that we talk about, is that feeling of, I can accomplish something huge. I am capable. I have the discipline. I have the, control over this to achieve very big goals. And that, I think, is the most important thing to people after getting that goal.
Does that come about upon reflection, you think, to most people, or is it something that happens in the process? Is it just in your own experience, is it something that you thought, as I'm a green belt, a red belt, a brown belt, testing for my black belt, do you anticipate what it's going to be like?
I think it's absolutely upon reflection. I think even as you talk to the students who are just about to test for black belt, they have no idea how it's going to feel. They just know this is hard. It's getting harder. And I have this big audacious goal in front of me that I haven't achieved yet, right? And it's almost like you cramming for tests before you take the test. You don't get that sense of gratitude until you're done with the test and you get the A on your grade book or whatever it is. You feel that afterwards, and that sense of accomplishment. You feel all of those little milestones you feel along the way, and all those tiny accomplishments, and the work getting harder and harder. And there is a lot of satisfaction from that, of just completing a really hard workout, or competing in a tournament, or doing the next belt test. But all of those things combined still are nothing to actually achieving that final goal and then reflecting back upon it, on what that means to you.
What's the exciting part initially of martial arts for kids who come into the school? What do they love to do or see?
Personally, I think it's the same thing that happened with me. You see all of it on TV. You see it all in the movies, like Power Rangers, and then you learn about ninjas, and then you figure out Bruce Lee, and then you get to look at like boxing and UFC, and you're like, I want to learn how to do that. And then you come in here, and then you get really excited because your instructor's making the class super duper fun. They're talking about how awesome we are. We're talking about how we're going to be as future black belts, and how we're going to set ourselves up to be future ninjas. And I feel like they get really excited when they get that sense of like, I'm becoming what I see on TV. I feel like that's a really big part of it is too. It's that visualization that they get.
And if I could add to that, I think, Master Lappin is our founder. She is a background in psychology, and we have a very strong emphasis on life skill development, which is huge for our parents, for bringing in their kids. That's really what they want out of martial arts, and what our goal is to teach for martial arts. So for newer students, there are a lot of little things. Getting to black belt takes about 5 years. So of course, somebody doesn't walk in our door when they're 5 years old and think, I'm so excited about achieving this goal 5 years from now. They just don't. They're not, at 5 years old, you're not thinking 5 years from now. But the way we have our program structured, the younger ones have belt testing every 2 months. So they have these small milestone goals, and that feels huge. At that point in your training, that's amazing, an amazing feeling to get that new belt. Nothing like anything you've ever felt. And it just gets better and better the more they work. So there's a lot of short-term rewards that go into the growth. And I think that's the part that's super exciting for the newer students who have no idea what it means to get to black belt yet, and no idea how that's going to feel. But the small rewards that they start feeling in the beginning are really, I think, some of the most exciting things for them too.
I agree.
Any stories that you have of even just little stories of somebody didn't want to come out on the mat or didn't want to show off in front of the class, and you helped them to do that?
Mr. Braden's our guru with connecting with the little kids and getting them on the mats when they're scared. So I'll let you share that.
where do I begin? We've had quite a few kids. I mean, they're kids, of course. They're coming somewhere where they have never been. They don't know what to expect. They just see a lot of people. They're making a lot of loud noise. They don't know what to do. Perfect example, yesterday, we had a brand new boy, and he came in for a class the week prior and didn't do it whatsoever. He was running the 50-meter dash the whole class, and he was just not ready for that class. And he came in the next week, and I sat down and talked with him and kind of talked about, like, you know, this is what it means to be a martial artist and what we do as black belts. And we got him to calm down. He took class and earned his white belt in that class, and he was using his 3 ways that we show respect. And there was a lot that it took to get him to be able to sit still, because again, they don't know what to do. You know, they're nervous, they're freaking out a little bit. But we got him calmed down. We had a lot of fun, and he left with a big smile on his face. And that's the biggest reward for me, is getting those kids excited to come back again to have an even better class next time.
Miss Becky, does that in your life as a mom, has that translated from the karate school to home, that kind of discipline where I need you to sit down right now, or I need you to go to bed, or I need you to read your book or do your homework? Did that translate from karate to home?
At our home, I'm very fortunate, and a lot of moms might say this, but we had really good kids. So as far as like the discipline part of it, we really didn't have much issues with our boys, but it was the confidence for my youngest and just trying to bring him out of the shell. But like Braden said, I know of another story. We have a little girl here that when she started, I mean, it was like 2 or 3 weeks before we could get her to do anything. So one day I said, do you want to come up and help me teach? And although she didn't do a whole lot, then every time she saw me, she finally started talking to me. And now to see her, you know, several months later, she's out there, she's participating, she's raising her hand for questions. We actually got her dad to join, which was super duper cool. I'm working on the mom too, but just seeing that, especially confidence, because that's why we started. I think it's harder sometimes for parents to get out there with their kids. And so I try to get every parent to at least try it. I do, because look at me, like before I was fortunate to be a stay-at-home mom, I was in the medical field. I mean, that's what my degree is in. And now I teach martial arts. Like, who would have ever thought that, you know? And especially being closer to, I'm almost 50 years old, and that's pretty awesome to say. I just think for parents, it is, first of all, something great you can do as a family. And second of all, I just think that we learn so much that we can apply to being parents and, you know, just being ourselves that's different than kids apply. So for me, it has helped me grow and become even more confident and, you know, just be more organized in life. Just our life skills just help me so much as well.
Master Macy, what about your kids? Have you seen that with them too?
Absolutely. As soon as you asked that question, it was probably 6 months ago. We have gold meetings once a month with our leadership students. And these are, gold stands for guidance on leadership development. So we meet with them and we cover different skills like public speaking is the one that I'm thinking of. And different things like how to introduce yourself and prioritization and goal setting and all of these different skills that are really valuable. And for most kids and even adults, there's not very many places where they can learn those. So we do those things in our leadership program. I have 2 daughters, one who's just getting started, and then my 7-year-old who's in our leadership program. And at that gold meeting that we were covering public speaking, so we did a thing that we asked all of our kids, whoever wants to can stand up and do a 60-second elevator speech. You can talk about why you love karate, or you can talk about whatever you want to. You can talk about school or the other hobbies. You can talk about anything. And we had about 60 people in that gold meeting, whether they were on virtually or in person. And so for my daughter, whose biggest thing is confidence and, you know, a little bit of pressure, standing up in front of everybody and talking just for, you know, about 60 seconds was a huge deal. And she still talks about it. She's like, do you remember when I stood up and gave that speech? And it was so simple, right? She wrote it herself. And it was like, my name is Tegan. I love karate. My favorite thing about karate is blah. You know what I mean? It was very simple, but it was so powerful for her to have that moment of, I just stood up in front of 60 people and gave a speech. And it's the same thing when she's competed in a couple tournaments. But just to be able to get up in front of people and know they're all watching you and judging you and be able to handle that pressure. I know for myself, I started when I was a kid. That was something that gave me the confidence to, run for class treasurer and class secretary and things like that, and have no problem public speaking and things like that when I was in high school and college. So it was one of those skills for me is so heartwarming that I know that she felt and that she still, like I said, talks about all the time.
It can be one of your earliest opportunities, and it's not an inborn skill, right? To publicly speak. Can we talk about the environment of karate just for a second? When you're asked to come up front and publicly speak in a karate class, it tends to be silent, right? Everybody's at attention and listening. When you come up to do a form at a karate tournament, it tends to be extraordinarily loud, cacophonous, right? And what's your experience in either your personal experience or instructing other kids in how to handle that silence and attention and focus on you, or the din, the real noise of having to perform in an environment that seems a little chaotic?
I love how you look right at me.
We do actually have a really fun drill that we practice with our kids, which works on this skill. We call it our focus drill, or distractions, whatever. And we'll have the kids stand in the middle of a group and do their form, whatever form they're working on. And they have to do it without smiling. And the whole rest of the class is around them, like making faces or joking or jumping around, trying to distract them. And it's fun and it's funny. And they have a blast, but it takes a lot of focus and self-control and things like that. And I think the most incredible part about all of this, and as soon as you mentioned, let's talk about the atmosphere at a martial arts school, right? There are so many things that are a little bit different, a little bit weird, that like, first time they come into class, they've never been in an atmosphere like this usually. And the cool part is, though, we do have such a strong family atmosphere. I think every student feels very, very supported and encouraged and motivated. So there's those instances where, okay, I'm putting myself out of the comfort zone. And I'm going to go to the front of the class and I'm going to talk. But I know, because I know everybody here, I know the instructors really, truly care about me. I know the students want me to succeed. They're going to cheer for me. They're going to support me. They're all going to encourage me and help me if I need it. So they're learning these skills, which are very scary and very hard to learn. Public speaking is one of the top fears of people. I think it's second of human fears. And so to be able to overcome that and conquer that, it takes a very safe environment for especially a child to be able to face that and confront that and deal with it. So I think that atmosphere that we do have here is a huge part of why we're able to do that with our students.
What would you say is the best reason for joining a karate program where you're set up to earn a black belt? It's different, right? From a gym or from a fitness program where you don't necessarily have any defined goals, and the sign up is for 4 or 5 years at least. And you have, like you said, many people who have been continuing for generations. What is the motivation when you're coming in and you say, yeah, I'm going to try this out? What do you say to someone who's going, I'm not sure what I'm getting into? Or what is it that you say about black belt that makes someone think, I do want to do this. I want to continue. This is my goal.
I think it's our leadership skills. Kids and parents come out of here as leaders. They're going to have that discipline. They're going to have confidence. Some of our kids haven't done very well in school and their grades have come up. I think as far as, just knowing the difference between right and wrong, integrity is something we're big on, and teaching these kids those life skills, I think, is huge. So we are preparing them for these skills before they even actually have to use them. Like when you go to your interview and you look someone in the eye and you shake their hand. Seems simple, but we are teaching them how to do that and how to, put themselves out there and become successful in life.
It's different for everybody, right? That's the thing. My girls are in gymnastics and soccer as well. And I've never, ever had one of their coaches ask me how their confidence is, or even think about it, or not that they don't care. They do, care about the kids, but it's different when they know I'm just going to work with them on soccer for the next 6 weeks. It's very different than when we meet a student that same day, we're sitting down talking to the parent one-on-one, what's going on with your child? What life skills are you specifically feeling like Johnny needs out of our program. And then we spend the next 5 years working very specifically on that confidence development or that focus or that self-control or whatever it may be. So I think the key there, just like Ms. Davis was saying, is it's different for everybody, but it's the life skills that really make it such a valuable program.
Can you tell us when you are open for classes, where you're located, and how people can sign up or inquire about taking classes?
Yeah, absolutely. So right now our building is being built right next to Fleming Island High School. Until our building is open, we are running classes right around the corner, actually in the same parking lot inside the Town Hall and Event Center in Fleming Island. So you guys can go to myfreekarate.com and fill in your contact info and reach out to us, or give us a call and we can schedule your first free introductory class.
You heard it here, myfreekarate.com. Visit and sign up and get started at Ripple Effect Martial Arts Fleming Island. Thank you so much, everybody, for talking today, and best of luck with the official opening of the school.
Thank you for listening to the Ripple Effect Martial Arts podcast. Find episodes and more at rippleeffectmartialarts.com.